Good afternoon and welcome everybody. Come on in. We will get started here in a second. And as you are coming on, if you wouldn't mind telling us the type of building you offer and where you're located. Home builder, remodeler, to do both, and again where you're coming from. We will get started shortly. All right, well, people are still coming in here, Karen, so I think we're going to go ahead. I'm going to leave this message. I'm just going to leave it up in the chat, pull it off of here, and let's go ahead and get started. I guess I will give you a basic introduction. I know you're going to talk a little bit more about GoRecruit and sort of your specialty. And I guess I'd like to start this off with a bit of a story. This is something that I used to use when I was coaching salespeople, and I would simply ask them, what do you make per hour? And of course, all salespeople they're commission based. So I'd say, what do you make per hour? And the question was always, well, I don't know. I said, well, let's do the math. So I said, let's look at the amount of direct face-to-face interactions you have to have with your prospective client in order to get them from, say, your first meeting until the closing table where you're writing the contract. And so normally, let's just say it'd be somewhere between 10 to 20 hours, depending on the size of the project. And then I would say, all right, well, let's look at your average commission. How much commission are you making? And we would figure out it was usually somewhere around $500 an hour. And so my next question was, all right, so if you are making $500 an hour doing these things, what tasks or things are you doing right now in your day that can be done for less than $500 an hour? And of course, the light bulb would click on, and I would talk about, again, having an assistant, delegating, eliminating, creating more time in their schedule so they could do more $500 an hour tasks. And that a lot of times was really an eye-opener for these salespeople, and where they really understood, hey, what's the highest and best use of my time? They were always asking that question and delegating and eliminating things that maybe they didn't know how to do so well, maybe they didn't like to do, maybe they didn't have the time to do. And so it was all about creating more time to operate where their strengths were versus doing the things that they were forced to do. So with that being said, that's my background on personal assistance and outsourcing and hiring somebody to help you do those things that need to be done that maybe you're not the best person to do it. I'd like to introduce Karen from GoRecruit. And so Karen, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your company.
Oh, hi, everyone. Thank you, Rick, for having me on your webinar today. And you pretty much just introduced and did the whole presentation for me. So thank you. So you're absolutely right. What we found in business over the last 25 years is, allocating your time is a precious resource. And like you pointed out, if your time is worth $500 an hour, you wouldn't want to be spending that $500 an hour on general admin tasks when you can get somebody else to do it for $10, $20 an hour, depending on where you're located. So today we're going to be talking about how builders and particularly custom home builders and designers and renovators can build more, earn less, build more, spend less with outsourcing. So I'd like to introduce you to our business, GoRecruit. I am Karen Walshe. I'm the COO and co-founder. We've been operating GoRecruit for over 25 years now, managing offshore teams. So this was actually born out of a passion that my partner has. He's South African. He was in South Africa at the time when he was trying to find a pathway to a better life. So using a marketing agency, started off with one Filipino worker, couldn't really understand the concept around how do we use somebody from overseas to work in our business that's located in Australia or South Africa or America or somewhere remotely. And once we started with one, we then grew to a team of 18 and grew the business to 4 different countries. So with regards to my personal background experience, I've been helping companies for over a decade scale through smart outsourcing. And so what we've done during this time is we've actually fine-tuned what does and doesn't work, so you don't have to do that. And we have all the systems in place to make sure that our offshore team members are doing what they're supposed to be doing for you. So I'm not sure how many people have used an offshore resource before or have outsourced before. Outsourcing is quite common for accounting and marketing kind of roles for business owners. And what we do specifically is we specialize in building high performing teams that are located remotely. So they're engaged with your business and they're representing you and your brand. And it can start from as little as $1,000 a month. And it's designed really to help the SMEs do more with less and compete with the bigger businesses. So 40% of our clients are from the construction industry. I grew up, my father was a builder, and a lot of the work that we've done is in the construction industry. So I guess you could say construction is in our DNA. We do service all verticals, but like I said, 40% is within construction. So we understand that no two businesses are the same, like no two building businesses are the same, like no two hires are the same. So what one person might request in a virtual assistant may be something completely different for another company. So one business might want more of an accounting virtual assistant, and then another one wants more of an architectural background as an accounting assistant. So how many people have used or are currently using offshore or outsourcing services?
I am.
So you can pop, yeah, you can pop that in the comments. And if you're not, there's a huge opportunity here for you. So I guess this also makes a nice segue into what Rick was talking about earlier. And let's start with a riddle. So what am I? You can spend it, you can allocate it, and you can't keep it. And just put in the comments what you think it might be. And the thing is, with this, you can save it, but you can't keep it. So, but once you spend it, you can never get it back. It's the most precious resource that you have. And I'm not sure if anyone's got the answer yet, but you probably all have. It's time. Absolutely. So time is one of those things that you can't get back. And if you're trading your time for money, then you're not doing it right if you're running a business. So what we really want to be doing is trading other people's time for money. So we can spend our time doing the things that we love. So every minute we spend chasing clients, quotes, following up deliveries, but doing things that essentially somebody else can do, you're doing your building business a disservice. So we need to put the value back into your time and get you focusing on doing the things that matter, that grow your business, push your business forward, and really have that growth mindset. So how many people are still doing everything themselves? Do you kind of feel a little bit like this? Like that robot trying to do all the paperwork, doing everything on the job site, running around, making sure that, deliveries are going to be arriving on time. At the end of the day, it's just completely exhausting. You are not a robot, you're a human being, and you really need to be doing things that count. When you're running around trying to keep a track on everything and working hard to make sure that everything's running like a well-oiled machine, what happens is we lack strategic focus on the business. So we're too busy putting out fires or managing things that somebody else could be doing, and we don't see the growth opportunities. So we miss opportunities. We also reduce the quality control because you're overloaded. So it's easy to miss things. And it can delay project turnaround times because when you're trying to do everything and you're overloaded and you're stressed, things just naturally do get missed. your clients will have an inconsistent client experience. And so that does impact on your branding and your word of mouth and your ability to generate new business through word of mouth. It then leads to strained personal relationships with family and friends because of the long hours that you're doing, the stress, the overwhelm, and ultimately it leads to mental fatigue and burnout. And really what we're here to do is help you do more with less and give you a bigger bang for your buck when it comes to resourcing for your business. So Rick, like you said, we need to know our numbers and what is your true value. So if you pull out your phone or your calculator or a pen, depending on where you are, or even just mentally take some notes, know what your hourly rate is. And I guess we also need to go back a little bit further, need to know what you need to be taking home every year to make it worthwhile to be running your own business and having all the stress and responsibility. So break that down, know what your hourly rate needs to be, and how much time do you spend a week on site visits and supervision, coordinating trades and material deliveries, placing orders, chasing up suppliers, because I know we do a lot of that, meeting with clients and responding to any inquiries. So, and then going out doing quotes, variations, your invoicing and data entry. So if you're writing all this down, how many hours are you doing on each of these projects? Your admin, taking phone calls, answering emails, doing your insurances, your licenses, taxation compliance, payroll. And then what is that total amount of hours that you do in a week? If you're, you know, like many builders that I know, you're probably already at about 100 and counting. So as you can see, that's probably not a really good place to be, especially when there's only, we know that time is a finite resource. So then, I mean, sometimes people get to their hourly rate and they're looking at how much they pay their contractor, and then they break down how much they're paying themselves, and they're a little bit disheartened. Or they could be really excited. And if you're excited, that's a great place to be in. But if you're a little bit disappointed, it's not doom and gloom, because there are so many things that we can do to make your business a well-run machine, a profit-generating machine. So, like I said, is it more or less than what you paid yourself? And even if you do pay yourself more, what would you do with extra money? How would you spend it? Would you spend it on your business? Would you take your family away on holidays more? Would you go and invest it in a property? How would you actually spend that additional money? And if you had more time, what would you do with that?
You know, Karen,
yeah.
just answer that question. I guess I know it's rhetorical, but you know, one of the things we talk a lot about is when you're a company and you're trying to make a push. So some sort of a new initiative, maybe it's growth, maybe it's profitability, internal processes or systems, whatever it might be. The biggest issue that always gets in the way is the lack of time. It's like, I would love to do this, but I'm already booked to the wall, you know, Monday through Sunday in some cases. I don't have the time to literally do this. I literally had this conversation with a builder in the Toronto area this last week, where we talked extensively about all his ambitions and goals and things. And he just finally got to the point, he goes, I just don't have the time to do this. I literally can't, I don't have any more time. And he also understood what he was good at and what he wasn't. And of course, what happens is you tend to focus on what you enjoy doing. In his case, it was project management. And he would not pay attention to marketing and, you know, sales and follow-up and that sort of thing. And so he knew what his Achilles heel was, but he was looking like, I don't know how to fix this yet. So I invited him to this webinar, by the way, and said, you got to get some assistance. You got to free up some time.
Absolutely. And Rick, that's where you come in so handy as well. You know, you have the ability to be able to look at a business from a new lens and be able to guide people into the right direction to help them do more with less. And most builders that I speak to, when it comes to marketing or lead generation, they're like, where do I start? I'm a builder, and I'm a builder. I might have started up as a carpenter, or I've been a builder, I've been on the tools, and then I've run my own business. So, you know, doing all of these other functions, it's a whole new game, you know, especially now with, you know, how noisy it is with social media, websites. There's just so many things to consider. You have to be an accountant, you have to be a marketing expert, you have to be a, you know, a top-notch tradesperson. You know, wearing all of those hats is just not possible for a lot of people, and this is why we need a really good team or an outsourced team to support you to achieve your vision. And thinking about all of those things that you just explained to me, it's overwhelming. So I started feeling overwhelmed as well, because I actually know there's not enough time in the day. And, you know, when you're servicing different markets, you're on the clock constantly, and you have to have time for rest. You have to have time for exercise. You have to have time for, you know, your friends and family and doing things that you love. Otherwise, you end up getting stuck in a rut, and then you lose the love of what it is that you got into business to do in the first place. Because most people start a business to provide for their friends, their family, their loved ones, and to be able to do the things that they really wanted to have that financial freedom to do, but then they find they don't have any time. And so it becomes a vicious cycle. So we're here to actually help you get out of that and identify areas in your business that are going to benefit from outsourcing certain tasks. So when we think about offshore staffing or outsourcing, we typically think of, you know, telemarketers. We typically think of bag customer service. So, I mean, what is modern day outsourcing? So I'm going to get you to put in the comments what you think. So when somebody says, have you thought about having a virtual assistant? What first comes to mind? And if you could write 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. And as we know that today is a really rapidly changing environment worldwide, particularly with the introduction of AI. And we've all had a story to tell about that telemarketer who won't give up, who's very poorly spoken at English, or the lack of customer service when you dial into a large telco or a bank and you just can't get your message across because somebody can't quite understand you or you can't understand them.
So the majority of the responses are 2, Karen.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great, I guess, in some respects, because we do have a lot of professional candidates that work with GoRecruit. So there are different types of outsourcing, and the one that we mainly deal with is more so your knowledge process outsourcing and your business process offshoring. So this is where people will come into your business from outside of your organization, and they will provide services like customer service, HR, payroll, accounting, architectural services, data entry, website and app development, software development, IT support, these kinds of things. And then you've got your creative outsourcing. So they can tend to overlap. When it comes to manufacturing outsourcing, I don't think that's really relevant to anybody here unless they're actually, you know, have an in-house, you know, manufacturing plant for, you know, tiny homes or something like that. So, you know, what we find works really well with businesses like custom home designer and builders, we've got a list of 10 different outsourced roles that we'll talk about a little bit later. But I just want you to understand that there is actually lots of different types of outsourcing, and you're probably already outsourcing. So a lot of businesses don't have enough capacity to have their own full-time accountant. So those kinds of roles, potentially you may be outsourcing already, or you're already ahead of the game and you're outsourcing your marketing to somebody. So outsourcing can be locally to a local business, or you could be using an offshore staffing service for your needs. What we need to be really clear on is what outsourcing is not. Some people think by outsourcing a role, they're going to solve all their problems within their business. But that is actually not the case at all. It's not offloading accountability. When you onboard as a resource, you really need to onboard them with your business, what your brand is, what your vision is, and all the processes that are in place with your business, because each business operates differently. So although you can allocate KPIs and allocate responsibilities, it's not offloading accountability as such. It's, you know, integrating somebody within your business who actually understands what it is that you need and what that problem that hire is to solve, whether it be an accounting, whether it be architecture, or assistant project management from the office to actually help free you up to get around to more sites. It's not replacing your existing staff. It's designed to complement your existing staff. Some people do have staff members leave and find that they've got such a great experience with their offshore team that they will replace them, but it's not designed to replace your existing staff. It's designed to complement your existing business. It's not a set and forget. So it's not, okay, well, I need you to do this, unless it's a managed service and we're just processing invoices for you. It's not a set and forget. You've got to keep feeding it. So you've got to keep training, providing tasks. You've got to keep, you know, engaged with that resource, because otherwise they become disengaged with your business. And there's some real horror stories that I'll take you through a little later with what happens when you set and forget. And the misconception is using offshore staff is only for large businesses. That's no longer the case. Technology has allowed us to connect worldwide. And it's not the same as offshoring. That's when you take your business overseas. So we're not taking your business overseas, we're just taking some tasks overseas. And it's not the same as freelancing, which is they'll just do project or contingent-based work. Okay, so what outsourcing is, it is delegating tasks, projects, or entire functions of your business to an external third-party provider, like somebody like GoRecruit. And this can either be local or offshore. Okay. So if this is something that you might be interested in, there's different ways in which you can go about engaging an offshore team member. And these are pretty much your options here. I'm not going to get into the different types of setups, but I will let you know it's something absolutely you can do yourself. The pros with that is that it's low cost, it's flexible, and you have a direct relationship with the person that you're engaging. The cons, I can let you know now that when I do an advert for, say, a data entry specialist, I can get up to 2,000 applicants, and we've got to screen all those. And many of those applicants are not suitable for the role. So, you know, the screening time is going to take you a long time. You're going to need to know what it is that you're looking for. We do have issues with some people being compliant with the local HR requirements in terms of payroll compliance, taxation compliance. There's no support, so you don't have somebody that's actually, you can call and say, hey, I'm having issues, can you help me here? Or my candidate needs this, can you help me here? There's no quality control, there's limited loyalty, so candidates can just go AWOL, and they're usually home-based, which is not a bad thing, but in some experiences that we've had, which I'll share with you later, it can be problematic. With an outsourcing partner like GoRecruit or other organisations, we tend to be really cost effective, because we understand that, you know, we want to put more money back into your pocket at the end of the day. So we do the quality control, we do all the resort, we advertise, we screen, we test, we present you the best. You will have a direct relationship with your candidate depending on whether or not they're a dedicated resource or a shared resource. If it's just simple business process offshoring, you don't need access to the candidate, but you will have access to a team of people. We have a proven track record, and we support loyalty within our business for both our clients and our candidates. The cost tends to be a little bit higher, and it's best for long-term roles. And you do have shared control, so you will have direct access to your candidate, again, depending on the type of service that you're looking for. The BPO processing, business process offshoring, that's like, you know, processing invoices, payroll, you know, those real repetitive tasks. It's more expensive because it is a managed service. So that is literally a set and forget, other than you have to continue to send your paperwork through so they can actually process it. And it supports a high level of loyalty to the BPO organization. The costs are higher, but there's no direct relationship with the actual candidate doing the work. So you'll send the work, it'll get done, and then it'll be sent back to you. There's no control over the task, so it is just the process, and it's best for repetitive tasks. Like we said, accounting functions can be really good for. Or you can set up a local entity, which is, unless you've got a Filipino national in your family, it's very difficult to do. So if you did do something like that, it's very time consuming, it's very expensive, it's a long-term investment, and the taxation over in the Philippines is very high. So 25 to 30% is what you're looking at. So those are the options that you've got when you're looking for offshore staffing. So you can do it yourself. You've got outsourcing partner, a BPO, or set up an entity, which is unlikely that a lot of small businesses would do that. So as we discussed earlier, I thought I'd share with you the top 10 roles that builders outsource with us. We service all verticals. So we do over 110 different roles within our organisation, and we've grown to 20 office locations around the world, including mostly the Philippines because they're English proficiency, Pakistan mainly for their technical expertise. We've got Australia, South Africa, and we also have an office now, which is just underway in the USA. So with builders, we typically use admin assistants to help you stay organised and on track. Architects and draftsmen, we have a lot of clients who will have an in-house design team now. So when it comes to engineering stamps and stamping, that will need to be done locally because these architects are pretty incredible. They'll do your 3D rendering, they're BIM specialists, they're CAD specialists. They're really quite talented when it comes to design, particularly for the US market. They've worked for US companies before. They've worked for a lot of these staff members have worked on large iconic sites. I've got an architect who's been an architect for 20 years who worked on the Burj Al Arab. So they have such incredible and broad range of experience. Some architects may even have a background in estimating, which we'll see a little later as well. So sometimes we can find an amazing gem, or sometimes you really want to niche in and specialize in a specific role. So estimators, assistant project managers, accountants, document controllers, website design and optimization specialists, and then social media marketing to create content. So those are some of the things that we do. Oh, here we go.
So just a couple of notes on that. I think from a pure sales standpoint, when you use outsource some architects and draftsmen, there's a couple of areas that you can really get an edge on your competition. So number one is you can offer much lower cost to create a concept plan or even a complete set of building plans. And like you said, you have to get a local engineer to sign off on the plan for permitting purposes. But you can do it much lower cost. But I think the other thing that a lot of builders don't realize is the time savings. Meaning that
absolutely,
yeah, you have an architect. If you're working with a local architect, it might take them 2 to 4 weeks, to be able to come back with some sort of a concept plan. You can do this in 2 to 4 days, sometimes less when you outsource.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Look, I have, I'm working with a builder at the moment who does multifamily homes, and they're interviewing candidates today. So what they wanted the candidate to do was a 3D rendering of some, duplexes, single car garage duplexes, and the candidate got the plans and overnight did a 3D rendering of of what the client wanted and submitted that. So that was done overnight. But it depends on the capacity of the candidate, what type of setup you're looking for, if they're going to be dedicated, how many jobs you've got on the go. But like you said, it is a very quick turnaround time because let's face it, we're in a skill shortage at the moment.
Right.
And and the builders are doing it tough, getting good quality workers on site, and then having people in the office, and then the cost of living. So everything's going up in cost, and we're trying to do more with less. So this is a way to actually open up the opportunities there and spend more time client interfacing or more time on site. or more time doing the things that you actually love and have somebody help support you. And it, like I said, it can be from as little as $1,000 a month. So generally with an architect, we'd be looking at around about 2,000 if they're going to be dedicated to your business.
Sure. I just talked to another client that just hired you had as an admin assistant, I guess we call it an executive assistant, but it was just someone to sort of just offload a lot of tasks that he just didn't have time to do anymore. And he was just telling me now he's had her for a month, and just like how it's completely changed his life, where she's doing all these things, now that he doesn't have to worry about. He's more focused on his business. He's things are improving pretty rapidly. So it's been a really incredible improvement for him.
Rika, look, it's really quite funny because, we know it works, and people who haven't done it before can be quite nervous about using offshore staffing because it's scary. They haven't done it before. And I'll tell you a little story about a client that we were working with for 2 years. It took 2 years to close that sales cycle. And some builders might be familiar with that, particularly when people are investing in a new home or a rebuild or a renovation. Sometimes it takes them a while to get over the line because it's such an emotional purchase and it's a lot of money. So investing in an offshore staff member can cost somewhere between, 15 and maybe 20,000 a year, maybe 30,000. So it is a big commitment to know that you're bringing somebody new into your team. You have to train them. So you've actually got to spend that time with them. And then, what happens if it doesn't work? There's that fear factor. Or what if they don't understand me? Or, there's all of these things that people are afraid of. And so this one client that we had for 2 years, they brought in a designer and architect. And after the first month was upset with us that he hadn't done it sooner and added to his team. So, that was kind of heartwarming to see. We're like, somebody's finally used the service, loves the service, and is growing their team with us.
Good to hear.
So, that goes to the point. What do successful builders do differently? Well, they know how to do more with less. They systemize their operations. By systemizing your operations, you're then able to hand over certain elements of your business to somebody else and be able to trust that they will do what you need them to do. So implementing procedures is a way to make sure that somebody is going to follow the same procedure every single time. And this is where, like you said, Rick, that an executive assistant or an admin assistant can help you with developing those standard operating procedures. And they can be throughout your entire business. This then allows you to put a valuation on your business. So if you don't have a succession plan for when you retire and you want to sell your business, it is more valuable in the market. It also, a lot of our builders use specialized tools and technology, and there are a whole range of tools and technology out there. You need to pick the right one for your business. And once you have those tools and technologies in place, or if you're introducing those tools and technology, what we do is we look for a candidate who is familiar with those tools and that technology so they can integrate seamlessly within your business. Now, if it's something a little bit more specialized, you may need to give them a bit of training. And like we said, outsourcing admin, but not just admin, also we've got incredible talent that can do more specialized tasks, like we had mentioned earlier with the architects and designers and estimators. Builders also know what their numbers are in real time, so they know that they've got cash flow available to them, because that is a really scary position to be in if you don't know what your bottom line is, or if you get to the end of a project and you're making less than what you thought you would. They also know how to leverage automation and digital collaboration tools. And Rick, I know you're a bit of an expert in this area. And they fill gaps with specialists. So they know they don't have the specialist resource, so they outsource it. And they have a growth mindset and not just delivery, because if we focus on just delivery, then we're not looking at where our pipeline of new projects is coming from, and how we're going to be servicing the client, the market, and provide an ongoing, consistent product and end product for the client to gain those additional word of mouth referrals and testimonials. So the way we run high performing teams here at GoRecruit is we make sure that we set clear roles and responsibilities and KPIs. So we often do work with our clients. If they don't have a job description, for example, we'll help you formulate one. We'll help you with your onboarding. So we've got a 90-day onboarding. If you want more of an involved onboarding, then that's something that we can discuss. But it's really important for the candidate, particularly somebody who's not a native English speaker, to have very clear roles. And the Filipinos love standard operating procedures, because one thing, they're so talented, they've got a broad skill set, but what they really want to do is they want to make you happy. Their first and foremost is they want to please their employer, and sometimes at the detriment to themselves, which we'll talk about in the horror stories. So use the right collaboration project management tools, establish strong onboarding and continuous training. So we find that businesses who invest in training are more successful. We create a results-driven work culture, so we really celebrate the wins, and we have that ongoing communication with the candidate. So communicating frequently with video conferencing and, on the phone, WhatsApp, Teams, whatever platform that you used, to have those regular check-ins. They feel like they're part of your team. So again, you can't set and forget. You've got to make sure that you're engaging with them on a daily basis, even if it's just a 5-minute huddle. They need to know that there's an open door policy. If they run into any issues, that they can reach out and talk to you, instead of spending 4 hours researching a 5-minute action. So again, celebrate the wins, recognize the contributions, and really make somebody feel part of the team. We use food incentives because the Filipinos have a big love of food, a culture of family, fun, and singing. So we also send out our team to go on spa dates, to have karaoke nights, and to have weekends away with their family, which is really quite inexpensive for us to be able to fund, but it means the world to them, and it breeds loyalty. And we also foster trust through transparency and accountability. So if somebody hasn't achieved their KPI, we actually look at the process and what's gone wrong. Instead of pointing fingers at people, we always look at what happened here. Is there more training that's required for the candidate? How did we get to a situation where the KPI wasn't delivered on time? So is it an issue with the process? Is it an issue with training? Or is it simply maybe the candidate doesn't have the skills required to fulfill the role? And if that's the case, then maybe our business has outgrown that candidate. Can we train them up and keep them in the business? Or are we going to have to look for either an additional resource or an alternate resource? Okay. And then you also need to protect well-being with boundaries and flexibilities, because often we will have candidates so happy and willing to please their client that they don't end up having downtime. So they'll end up working over the weekends, all hours. So generally, if they're servicing a US client, they will be working a graveyard shift, and they're very happy to do so. So they will work to your time zone. So I think one of the biggest things is, if you're going to be doing some outsourcing, there are some main mistakes that you need to avoid. And some people are just so busy, they just want somebody in their business now, but they don't go through that process of properly vetting the candidate. So once a candidate's in their business, we can have all kinds of issues. The candidate has technical issues, so they're not actually performing to the level that they need to, because they're working from home and they don't have a backup internet, they don't have the right spec computer. So they might be saying that they're lost internet. So there's a lot of typhoons that happen over there. The internet connections you need to have a backup power source and a backup internet connection for any at-home candidate. That is a non-negotiable with us. We have a lot of our candidates who work from the office, but we do have an army of work from home staff as well. So we need to make sure that they've got the experience. We need to make sure we background check them. We need to make sure that their references check out, to make sure that they say they are who they say they are and they can do what they say they can do. And that's where our testing comes into play. The other issue that I find a common mistake with small businesses is they fail to set clear expectations and KPIs for their candidate. So they haven't really thought about how this hire is actually going to solve their business. They just know they need help. And sometimes what we find is that their expectations don't align with the candidate's skill sets. And then what happens is, because the candidate's not delivering on what you're asking them to deliver on, you lose faith in the candidate and then you stop issuing tasks. The candidate becomes disenchanted with their job environment, and they could potentially look for a job somewhere else. Some clients will choose price over quality, and what we want to do is we want to actually get that healthy balance between affordable talent. So we want to get you the best skill set available so the candidate can grow with you as well. So sometimes the cheapest is not the best, but also the most expensive doesn't always equal the best either. So ignoring time zone and communication barriers. So there are some cultural nuances to be mindful of with outsourcing staff, particularly from the Philippines. Candidates will often say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And what they really mean to say is, actually, I don't know. I'll go and Google it for 4 hours, and it might be a 10-minute task. And you're thinking, where did that task get to? So, really building that flexibility, that understanding of cultural nuances, and that open dialogue backwards and forwards between yourself and your candidate to really understand and ask the right questions and help them be successful in their role in helping you. Again, lack of onboarding. So we often see this, the majority of the time when a candidate doesn't work out, it's because the client hasn't onboarded them properly, or they haven't been trained. Or they're asking them to do something outside of their scope of what they were hired for. So they're essentially set up to fail. So we take the time to onboard the client before we even place an ad for your candidate. Poor data security and confidentiality practices. We've had an issue in the past where, a client had provided, access to a candidate. So they were working with another organization and they had provided admin access to all their socials to a candidate, and the relationship went bad and the candidate had deleted all their followers. So, we always say best practice, don't ever allow admin access. It gives them access to your credit cards, because the first person you're going to blame is your offshore staffing person. So we always make sure, we've got a lot of very reliable, trustworthy candidates, but other companies may not. Or if you're hiring directly, you need to be mindful of your data security and protecting your content. So, I mean, that was a hard lesson for the client to learn, but they luckily got onto it after, 5,000 of their followers had been deleted, which was really quite painful, given that it was a carefully curated list. Yes, exactly. And you know how long it takes to get those many followers. So, they've come to us now, and we're in a recovery mode, trying to put in a strategy to recover a lot of those followers, and that's going quite well at the moment. But you can imagine the disruption to the business. So, and then there's no ongoing performance and feedback loops. Every year we make sure we do a review with the client and the candidate, and in line with inflation at minimum, we ask for you to consider either giving the candidate a bonus or a pay increase based on their contribution to your business. And this is like you would with any other organization, because performance, provided the business is making money, needs to be rewarded. So, the aim is to actually reduce your costs, increase your time availability to spend on things that you love doing, and increase your success and profitability. Okay. And then partnering with an unproven or unsupported provider. Most of our clients need the support. There's some people that don't, so it really depends on a case-by-case scenario, depends on what it is that you need. Every client that I speak to, there's some clients that I say, you're not ready for us at the moment, but how about try going down this path? Okay. So with regards to outsourcing the horror stories, which I think you all need to be aware of, is when a candidate is not delivering an output and they're pretending to work and then producing nothing, they're working for somebody else. They're not just working for you.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've got only about 15 minutes left, so I'm going to come through this pretty quickly. Data theft or confidentiality breach, which we just discussed, disappearing after onboarding. So some candidates may actually have been waiting for another role to come through and you're not aware of that, or they've had a family holiday planned and you're not aware of that. So they just disappear. They've gone AWOL. Some people have fake qualifications and portfolios, so they may have actually worked on a project as a team and not independently. So we ask all these questions, we vet these candidates, we find out who they are, where they're from, what their background is, who they've worked with. We talk to their former supervisors. We make sure that we do background checks. Time zone and communication failures. This can be quite common with people doing graveyard shift from home. So, we have our team that will actually, somebody may have slept in, or there may have been a typhoon, or something may have happened, and so they can't communicate. So that's why we've got an army of HR members that work for us that will be in contact with you to let you know, such and such can't log in today. There's been a power outage for some reason. If they're working from the office, they will be logging in. If they've slept in, you will be notified that they are running late for work, but they will make up those hours. Some of these candidates will juggle multiple clients, so you're not getting your work, you're not getting the output that you think, and something's in your gut saying something's not right here. I'm paying them a full-time job, but guess what? They're working for 4 other companies at the same time. So we know this because we've got online monitoring systems. We can see what your candidate's working on. We can see when they log in, when they log out. We can see their productivity. We can see the apps that they're using. We can see if they're using, software that actually mimics work. So all of these things are flagged, and we have people in the office supervising. So no support accountability from the agency can result in these horror stories. And if the client is not giving us feedback, it can also result in a horror story. Generally, our team is so good at getting on top of these things, you'd be surprised at what we pick up very early on in the relationship. We've had, we're right onto it in the years that we've been managing offshore teams. And then we also have to be mindful of the client and the candidate, because cultural misalignment can be not only damaging to the candidate, but it can also be damaging to your business, your brand, and your reputation. So, for example, we'll have an issue with a client who's their cultural alignment misaligned with the Filipino candidates, and we went through about 20 candidates. The candidates were stressed, they were crying because they weren't used to that direct relation, the direct nature of talking to them, because they're very sensitive. So we had to find a candidate from another location to deal with a particular client that we had. So, that's really important to make sure you get the right fit and the right personality. So with our outsourcing success stories, this is actually one of our candidates, Axel, and he was integrated into a large project management firm here in Australia, and they had a seamless onboarding integration with the team. He's actually been identified as somebody that they'd like to sponsor and to migrate to Australia with him and his family. So they had a seamless integration process. With the local team, consistent high quality output, delivered on all these projects on time in full. He's a assistant project manager here. Cost savings without compromising expertise, proactive at problem solving, and shows initiative. There's 24/7 coverage supporting their business and also our candidates as well. So, if there needs to be any support outside of his working shift, that there's somebody available to talk to. And we have a trusted long-term partnership with full accountability with that closed feedback loop. So he's just going through his first review process at the moment. And this is not uncommon. This happens across all countries. So we service the UK, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. You find with their clients will have an enhanced customer experience with cultural alignment, and they scale their team. And like I said, we've got 20 offices worldwide. So I'll quickly play this one. Look, I'm not sure if this is going to work. Here we go. Can you hear it?
We cannot hear it. I think under settings, Karen, if you go there, you should be able to do an audio and see if you can share your sound. We may not, you know what, and I'm not seeing it. We may not be able to share the sound from the video.
That's okay. That's okay. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the next slide. And, you know, if you're interested in some testimonials from us, you can always just jump on our website because that testimonial's on there. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Return on investment and risk management. Look, I know this has been a lot of content to take in one webinar. So if there's something that you're interested in or you want to learn more about, you're more than welcome to reach out to us, schedule a meeting. So in terms of return on investment, you know, you're often looking at a cost saving of up to 70% of local wages. So there's a massive opportunity there to be able to save on costs and invest those in other areas of your business, whether they be with your existing staff or hiring a new contractor or investing it into marketing initiatives, R&D. So it really, or you might just want to, you know, take the family on a holiday. So there are a lot of cost saving opportunities without compromising quality of service when you use offshore staffing. Like we talked about earlier, the time to turn around drawings and you know, concepts to your client. So you reduce the time for turnaround, increasing customer satisfaction. You'll then look at your output quality score, and then you look at your retention rate and word of mouth, your continuity, your retention rate of your candidates as well, and as well as your ongoing business. You'll do compliance and data security audits just to make sure everything's running smoothly there. And overall, really, at the end of the day, it's all about your client satisfaction and your business impact score. So how that's actually impacted on your clients, the testimonials that you get, the referrals that you get, and the ongoing support. So there's 6 proven strategies to maximize your ROI and mitigate your risk when it comes to bringing on an offshore staff member into your business. So there's a rigorous talent vetting process that we do. And if you were going to do somebody yourself, then I'd be looking at really testing that candidate before they come on board to make sure they are who they say they are and that they can do what they say they can do. Having that structured onboarding and training in process in place. So, you know, that's something that a candidate can actually help you with if you haven't got one already. But if you've got one, then we can improve it as well. But if you've got a really solid one, that is also even better. So you're going to be more successful quicker. You've got dedicated account management and support. So we provide you with somebody that you can talk to, but not just use your candidate as well. So we need to make sure that that ongoing relationship between you, the candidate, and us is something that is available around the clock. And we do the time tracking and performance monitoring. So you'll get a report every month. With that, if we pick up something that doesn't look right, we will be in contact with you before then. Okay.
You're very popular.
Sorry. So here we are. We're finally wrapping up, and an opportunity for people to ask questions if you like. So basically, the 3 key points that I would like you to walk away with today is that, firstly, you don't have to do it all. So stop wasting your time and money and start outsourcing today. Don't risk using somebody that isn't an expert in what it is that they do, because it will cost you time and money. So try to find, if you're going to partner with somebody, find somebody who understands your industry and your business and takes the time to do that. Make sure that they have compliance, make sure that there's a feedback loop, make sure that there's support for you, okay? And then you want to work with a team that actually understands your business. So now for the fun part of the meeting, the webinar. So Rick, I've sent over 2 ebooks. So the Cost Slashing Secrets and a 90-day onboarding for success. So all the attendees are welcome to have that. And then we're also offering a 30-minute free strategy session. So you just need to schedule that. And for anybody attending the webinar today, you get $500 off your first offshore staffing member. So,
and just as an update to that for everyone attending, so Karen, we will get you the list of everyone that signed up so that you can send out those freebies with that offer. Aaron asked if the webinar is being recorded to watch again later. Yes, it is. And everyone, again, that is attending and signed up will get a link to watch it again later. We've already had another builder that is interested in talking to you about architectural renderings and design as well, Karen. So we'll get you on there. And I'll go ahead and remove that. And then, is there any specific questions? Please put them in the chat right now. We'll see if you have one. We'll try to get to it. I just wanted to say one thing. It was one of your slides I wanted to comment on, where you talked about growth. And one of my mentors at some point said, your business is either growing one of 2 ways. You're going to be growing where you're expanding your market share, and you're also growing internally. And so sometimes we have market conditions that don't allow us to maybe expand our market share. So we're sort of stuck. But we can still grow internally. And when we grow internally, when the market does come back and allows us to take market share, we're ready. And that's the problem is that if the longer you wait, where you don't start bringing in, say, help to help you with your internal systems, processes, SOPs, taking some of that workload off of you to free you up so you can spend more time working on the business and not just in the business, and doing it consistently too. I think that's the other thing I see a lot is like, there's a lot of good intentions out there, but it's like, you have to do this consistently. And what I see is and you made a good point. It's like when you're working with an offshore team or just any employee, is that you have to be taking time to focus to develop your team. So KPIs help you understand how they're doing, but it also helps you show where you need to develop them. So it's part of the time equation here, is that if you're going to go this route, focus on your internal systems so that you can scale the company. You as the owner or your management team, if you have one, is going to have to spend time on a regular basis meeting with these people. So I know that what we'll really focus on is we do weekly KPIs. We do, again, monthly KPIs, and then we do quarterly reviews and then annual reviews. And then our KPIs are tied to a bonus program as well. So if they're meeting or exceeding their KPIs, they're going to get a quarterly bonus. And there's usually 3 different categories. So lots of things you can do, but it takes time and management and structure to set it up. And you made a really good point too on setting expectations. And a lot of your points you made too, Karen, it's not just for outsourcing. This is like for your own employees too. I mean, it's part of the job. When you're trying to grow your business, you got to hire people. You got to have the systems in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I just heard a little ping go off in my headset, so I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so one thing that I always, and this is one thing that we do as a standard practice for all our engagements, is when candidates have run out of tasks, we always make sure that they've got trainings to suggest to their client. And when I onboard the clients as well, we talk to them about what do you do during your downtime, because you're still paying your candidate and your candidate should still be working or adding value to your business. So it has an opportunity for them to upskill and train in areas that are going to add value to your business. So we always have suggested trainings for candidates to do. And then we also have, we talk to the clients as well. So what happens when you have a downtime? Can they be working on other things? Like you said, the standard operating procedures, organizing the company files, doing extra trainings, whatever it is that they need to do in order to be adding value. It's not, sitting there waiting for tasks. So, a lot of Filipinos will sit there and wait for tasks as well. Our candidates don't, because we've got procedures in place that when they've completed their tasks, they tell you, I need more tasks. And if you don't have tasks for me, I'm going to suggest that I do this. So, we make sure that they are productive. So
well, I think what you offer here is really the best of both worlds, in that you can recruit, you can vet, you can supervise, and then it allows you as a builder then to just focus on really getting that candidate integrated into your systems. You don't have to worry about all the auxiliary issues that I deal with that. And I all the horror stories you described, I'm like, yep. I'm checking up. Like, I've seen it, been there, done that. And it is really hard. I mean, you're right. You put out one ad and you can get hundreds of applications in these offshoring. And a lot of them are completely fake profiles, and they're just scam you. And it's very difficult. So having someone to vet, train, supervise, manage is really, really important. So Karen,
and look, we've done it all. We've seen it all.
Yeah.
Like, really, look, I've even been scammed. Like, this is the thing. So, we've done all the testing and vetting, and we've gone through all the pain, so you don't have to.
Right. Yes. And there's plenty of it. But when you find that right person, boy, they can really make a difference. And that's just part of it. So Karen, thank you so much. Again, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's your the website?
It's GoRecruit.io.
So GoRecruit.io.
So it's https://GoRecruit.io. So it's no www.
That. Yeah. So if they want to reach out to Karen that way, do that take advantage of that 30-minute consultation. We'll make sure that she gets your email so she can send you the freebies that she had on here, along with the offer for the 30-minute complimentary strategy call. And then if you decide to partner with Karen, $500 off your first hire. Sounds
absolutely.
Like. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me today, Rick. Thank you to all the attendees. And if you're going to be booking an appointment online, if you could just put in the messages Karen or webinar or whatever it is, just so you will get to speak to me instead of one of my engagements. So, one of my sales team members.
And I also want to mention too, you guys are APB partner as well. Isn't that right?
Yes, we do. So we do offer a rebate. So we are a rewards partner. So it's free money as well.
That's where we met, is at an APB event. I met your husband, Pierre. And so, so if you're Association of Professional Builders, there is a rebate as well out here. So take advantage of that as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Karen, great to see you again. Great information. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me. Bye, Rick. Bye, everyone.